Let's get to Amazon here. Amazon earnings, 65 cents versus 34 expected. That is a pretty big beat right there. Operating income, 7.68 billion versus 4.72 billion. That's also a beat. Outlook in sales, 138 to 143 billion from Amazon. Expected on Wall Street was about 138.3 billion. That's also a beat. You also have on revenue side, you have 134.4 billion versus 131.5 billion. That's also a beat. So overall, really good earnings report for Amazon. What does the chart show us though? So let's go straight to that right now. Amazon, you can see here we have a bull flag that has formed in recent days. Now, let's take away the aftermarket price action here and just look at what we were dealing with coming into today. Bull flag pattern hadn't yet confirmed. Now, let's look at the post-market price action. You can see the price action is outside of that. So what we're looking at for tomorrow, if this price action holds through the conference call, is a break or a gap above the bull flag pattern, which will leave it to the potential for a fade. Why that's important is AMD. Do you remember what AMD did back on Tuesday? AMD had a similar bull flag pattern. We talked about it. And when we were going over it in the post market, this stock was trading at $123, $124 a share. It looked like it was going to be a huge gap higher. Instead, we got a little bit of a gap higher and it faded all day. It was a nasty sell-off. So AMD had good earnings, but you could also see the same thing. It's similar chart pattern. You could see the same thing unfold in Amazon. I'm not saying that that's for sure. I'm not trying to be a perma bear or trying to be a Debbie Downer. What I'm trying to tell you is that there's the potential there that you want to be aware of the fact that just because it had a really good earnings report doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hold this into tomorrow, especially once the conference call gets underway. Other things that I want you to be aware of, this rising trend line. You can see we got a perfect bounce off of it. Technically, everything looks really nice. I wish this was price action that was not happening because of earnings, because as a lot of you know, I won't hold a stock through earnings, not a swing trade at least. I will always sell my trades before earnings because it's too much of a volatile session to try to hold overnight. So this one from a technical standpoint, though, set up really nice. I mean, you got this rising trend line, you got the bull flag. Both of them are bouncing off of the trend line. Prices bounce off trend line, breaking through the bull flag pattern. Nothing not to like right there. But one thing that you also want to be very cognizant of in the days ahead is this massive resistance level. So if we get a good rally out of it tomorrow, this resistance level goes all the way back to 2020. Yes, that is a long time ago. And what you're seeing here is price going back to revisit it. Now, the last time it revisited it was back in August of last year. It went right up to that level, and then it had an extremely hard sell-off, creating a new lower low, going from 145 all the way down to 80. I'm not necessarily calling for that right here, but I do think that something kind of like with the Tesla chart that we've seen, where it hit its own resistance going back to 2021 and then had a significant pullback. We need to be aware of the same thing with Amazon. This is a heavy resistance level that could see a rejection in price as it gets closer and closer to this 143, 144 mark on Amazon. So going forward into tomorrow, what we want to watch for, one, does it pull an AMD stump where it looks really good today, but it starts to fade really quickly at the open tomorrow and people start booking those gains? The second thing is if it does take off, what does it do as it gets closer and closer to this 144 level? Can it break through it? If not, and if you see a Tesla-like reaction that I just told you about, that might be a good reason to want to go ahead and pull back on those shares. So the other thing, if we do get that pullback, then we want to start seeing, does this trend line hold like it held today and yesterday? If so, that could be a good opportunity to get long on the stock. If it can't hold it, then I really don't want nothing to do with this thing going forward until we get a much more legitimate bottoming price action.